Hey everyone, welcome back to another session of the creative season. We are going to do a paint with me watercolor wreath this morning. So I was thinking about the course that we had done, or I had done earlier this year, painting and praying through Psalm 23, and one of the wreath projects that I had created for that. And I thought, you know, this would be really a fun verse and a fun project to redo, but with a fall feel. So the verse had been, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And that had created a wreath and talking about some of the concepts of that verse and what we were thinking about that. And I thought, you know, this would be a lot of fun to do for fall, for Thanksgiving, since that is, you know, just thinking about the gifts that we've been given. And I thought, okay, so I've got my paper out. So what you're going to need is, if you want to come and do this wreath with me, it's going to be really fun. It's going to have fall colors. We're going to include some leaves. So I did bring out some of my dried leaves that I have for inspiration. I've got some clean water. I've got my paint palette, and it has a variety of colors in it. We'll be using a lot of these ones in here, the warm gamboge and orange. I'll probably pull in a bit of the magenta, and we've got some yellows over here, and of course my favorite browns. I've got burnt sienna and I have sepia today. I've got a couple of brushes, and let's get going. I'm actually going to go ahead and do some sketching with a pen, I think, this morning. So if you want to do a little bit of a pencil sketch, I had first sketched out just a circle in the middle right there, and that gives me just a border for where my painting is going to be, because sometimes with wreaths, if I don't sketch out at least that, I start going a little bit cattywampus and then going off the edge, so we don't want to do that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I am going to go ahead and looking at this and thinking, okay, I want to go ahead and grab some micron pen, and then I also want to, let me just make sure I have everything set up here. Grab a couple leaves that are inspiring me. So I'm going to make sure that you can see these leaves too. And we're going to go back over here. Let me back it up just a little bit like that. Okay, so looking again at the leaves that I have around, I've got several out here, and I am just going to sketch a couple. So what I'm thinking is we're going to put leaves right here and down here, and maybe some flowers as well. And I'm just going to go ahead, and I am just kind of keeping an eye on the where my leaves are, where the actual wreath is. And what we'll probably be doing, we always want to make sure when we're painting our wreaths that the branches, the twiggy branches that we're going to be painting, they're all going the same way. So I'll go ahead and just sketch out some of the branches like so. We'll move them over here. I've got maybe a bigger one in here, and I have maybe another one going deep down there, and I'll bring this in a little bit closer so you can see that. And then over here on the side, I want to have some other wreaths. So I'm going to have like just several leaves coming out in no particular way. These can be a little bit more free. I'll have some of the twigs interacting with one another. I do love the maple leaves, so we'll probably have one come over here maybe. I'll have maybe some of these be more of the star of the show. And again, just simple paintings with the pen. Of course, I'll have some leaves coming out here and here, and I'll have another leaf over here. And I can often I'll do the stem long and up, and then I'll start just coming around. Again, the maple leaves, they're fun to draw. They have that star shape, right? But it's an uneven star shape, which is a lot of fun to create. All right, so I'm just going ahead, sketching, not doing all the sketches, but just enough to give me a border. I'm going to do another maple leaf. I actually really love this leaf. This is a really gorgeous big leaf, so that would be fun to have maybe coming out over here. We'll have a bigger leaf like this, and another one coming through over here. The micron pen, of course, gives it a little bit more sense of permanence, right? Because we can't erase that off. I think I'm going to do one more leaf right up here that I have my eye on. This beautiful, the stem kind of, when it dried, the stem kind of dried interesting. But we'll go ahead and create that right down here. Again, just sketching out our beautiful fall leaves, just another way to enjoy the fall by celebrating all the beauty And that leaf is kind of hidden below. If you want, you can go ahead and make some of those details, but we will create some of that detail as we paint and then probably do another layer of color. So now that we have the basic wreath on our watercolor paper here, let's make sure our paint is nice and wet, and we'll go ahead and start laying down some color. I'm going to lay in some of the leaf colors first, and then we'll come back and we're going to start laying the color around on the branches. That way it'll give our leaves some time to dry, and then we can add in another layer of color. Okay, so let me come through here now and look at these colors. I think this time I am going to let's do some nice magentas. I think we're going to do plums and purples and a little bit of gamboge in this one. So I'm going to come through here and I'm going to just start playing with some of these colors here. And the fun too with painting leaves is really letting the colors, we have a lot of fun letting these colors move together and merge together. I thought it would be fun. One of the reasons I was thinking about this project too was if you like to add words to your art, some script or even your own handwriting, which I think it's a lot of fun to do, we can add the verse down below or any other verse or a poem that you'd like. All right, I'm going to grab some more of that color, and I'm just going to I'm going to get some more water. I want it to be a little bit looser actually, and just start laying down color around here. Super pretty, right? And you know what I think, what another color I think would be pretty would actually be an orange. So let's go ahead, I'm going to add another leaf over here. Put some down right here. I'm keeping it fairly loose, so then rinse your brush really well. I'm using, I believe this is a size, I think this is a 7 this morning. I don't have a name on it. Okay, I just threw some paint water over there, but that's okay. We'll probably end up doing some splattering as well, which would be a lot of fun. So grab your orange. I have a cadmium orange, which is a bit more opaque, which means it doesn't play as nice. It just kind of overtakes the color, but that's okay. See, I've got a little bit of a blend there, but that's fine. That's kind of the beauty of this project. Also, don't feel the need to stay within the micron pen. Go ahead and go outside the lines. That adds to the whimsical and that sense of watercolor and looseness. We're not trying to make a real tight painting here. Maybe you're doing this Thanksgiving week and you just wanted to find a few minutes to create something or a project for the kids to do with you maybe while you are all together. Maybe it's early Thanksgiving morning and you're just taking a few minutes before the hustle and bustle of the day begins, right? All right, so that's looking really, really nice. If you wanted to add a bit of gamboge, feel free to do that as well, or a little bit of that orange. And why don't we get it watery and add just a little bit too back into some more of these background leaves. Don't color the leaves in all the way. Leave lots of room for them to blend and merge. Okay, I'm going to come over here as well. I'm going to add a little bit of pink to that magenta for this one right up here, just to bring it a different hue. Purples and yellows go nicely, pinks and oranges, so we're kind of playing off the warm colors. That looks really pretty, right? I'm going to dab some of this color in too. You'll notice that as watercolor dries, it lightens up. So if you ever think it's a bit dark, just let it dry and then bring it back. Okay, and then let's go ahead and grab some brown now. We'll let that dry. I do want to add in a little bit of more color. Go ahead, keep it wet as much as you can. We're actually going to dip some brown into some of these colors, which is going to be lots of fun. Now, if you want to throw in one other color, we've got the brown that we're going to add in. I think I had some Viridian on here the other day. I think I still have it in the corner. Viridian is a really nice, almost a turquoise green, you know, and I think I may have used it, but we have a little bit left. I'm going to dab it in and actually do a couple leaves just for some contrast here, and I'll probably end up adding another color. Not a lot of leaves, I just want a couple. We're going to add just a bit of a green, and then I'll probably end up adding some brown to that too to warm it up since it is fall. Okay, and I'm going to add a tip of one coming right out here, and I'll bring this one underneath. Okay, so now that we have those down, go ahead and grab some brown. You'll notice that your colors might be merging. That's completely fine. Now take your brown. I'm going to go ahead and start. I've got a main branch here. I've got a branch here. I'm just doing some gentle branches, and then I'm going to start working my way out. Remember too, the branches are all kind of heading the same way. Just laying this down. Now depending on where as you look, we have leaves covering here, and you may think to yourself, I want to add a few more leaves. If you do, just go ahead and add them before or even now. So for example, I think to myself, I might not like one more leaf right over there. So it looks just a little bit light. I could come down here, and before we add too much brown, I'll go ahead and add in one more leaf right here. And if it picks up a little of the brown, that's okay. That is fine. You can kind of see we're kind of keeping an eye on how things are merging. And maybe I look down here and think I want one more just coming out over here on this side. I'm going to grab that gamboge. Make a nice wide leaf down here. That looks really pretty. Doing some detail work with the tip of my pen, right like that. And we'll let that dry for just a quick sec. We'll go back to our brown. I'm going to grab some sepia, or the sepia. That's definitely a darker brown. And just lay some of those colors in as well. Coming back here as well to throw in a little bit of a branch sticking out in between these leaves and going around and around. Just thinking about what we're thankful for this year, thinking about that verse. I love that verse, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I love, that promise that we can lean into, that the grace of God never fails. It's always with us. It's always here for us. If we've wandered, when we wander, I should say, right, because we all wander, we can come back to him and lean into that surely goodness and his mercy that never ends. And I am so grateful for that. Just thinking about that this year, is Psalm 23 has just been hard on my mind, and my prayers a lot. Okay, this is looking really fun. Now, we want to add a few other things in. I want to add in some more color. So go ahead and pick up the magenta. If you have a purple even, grab a purple, grab your magenta. You can even add some brown to the magenta. That would look really nice too. I'm going to come back and just add in some color right in here to these leaves. And you can see it start to deepen. Again, I don't want to color the whole thing up, but we're adding in some detail, we're adding in some depth. I do want to add underneath the leaves, for example, over here, where I know it's going in the crevices and where we would see some, shadowing. Over in this one, I'm going to add in detail down here. And this guy over here, that's really starting to add in some depth to our beautiful autumn wreath here. I have been watching a lot of people make wreaths. It's so much fun to see them being made. And I made a collage for the front door this year, but I haven't made a wreath in some time. Okay, I'm going to dab just a little bit of purple right in this yellow leaf. And then we'll come back and I'll add in some more yellow. Okay, now if you want to pick up some of your orange or some of the gamboge, the yellow that you have, get it wet and then drop it in your green. You don't even have to color it, but just drop it in there. That's going to add a really nice color. I'm going to make this one a bit bigger. Okay, this is looking really nice. Now we should probably give it just a minute to dry. And giving it a minute to dry is going to help it, the paint to settle, and then we can come back in here and add some detail. We're definitely going to want to add some more branches, right? In fact, if you want to mix some sepia and some cadmium brown, so we get that warm brown. It's a warm and a cool brown, but that sepia does add a nice job of adding shadows, and then just dropping in some deeper colors to create some of those bigger branches. We do want different shapes of branches, and all mine were somewhat looking about the same. Okay, I'm going to come over here as if this branch is moving all the way around. Letting these go out like this. Okay, and now I'm just going to let it dry for just a little bit, and then we'll come back. Go ahead and take one more look around. If you see anything too where you're like, oh, I just want to add a little bit more, I'm going to add a little bit more gamboge here. We are getting to the point too where it will start to get a bit messy if I go too much, so I have to always watch myself. But that's looking really, really nice so far. Is it looking a little wild? It is, but it's our beautiful fall wild wreath, and I kind of really, really love it. So we'll give it some time to dry. We will come back and create some detail with the pen, and that will help with the wildness too. If you're noticing anything's getting too muddy, feel free to take a brush that's completely dry and see where I had some green merge. I'm going to take that dry brush and you can just pick up the paint. And that's a really nice way of just doing a little bit of cleanup if you're noticing a little bit of muddiness going on. And that way too, we will have it a fresh area to paint on when we come back. All right, you guys, I'll see you right after this dries. Okay, so we are back. It's actually been a little bit longer than I thought it was as I was doing some things. I want to go ahead first and start by adding on our verse. So I specifically left we put this a little bit, this is about halfway, right? Halfway between the two pages. So we put it just the wreath a little bit higher, and I was going to put in my my verse. And so I'm going to just go ahead down here. You can do this in pencil. You can do any verse you'd like, but I'm going to go ahead, Shirley. And you're going to notice that I am not a calligrapher, and that is okay. This is just a personalized painting that I'm going to display in my home this Thanksgiving. Shall follow me. All the days of my life. And I'm going to put dot, 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 and this is Psalm 23. Oh, that was not what I meant to do though. Psalm 23, 5. So we'll do that. We'll kind of just make this fancy here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I've written my verse out now, and feel free to do that as well. We're going to start adding some splattering and really bringing the whole thing together. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to go through here, and I'm just going to add in some detail. So if you want to add that, you might want to add detail of outlining your leaves with the micron pen. You might want to add some detail of making some of these branches a little bit thicker, for example. I'm going to just put in some thickness here and adding in some detail over here. With these guys, we're actually going to go ahead and add another layer of color. I'm going to add in detail of the leaves over here. I'm not outlining per se, it's just moving around, especially where I feel like things got a little bit, not out of control, but just a little bit too much merging of the colors. And you can certainly take a while if you wanted to and just really go through this. You also may want to add, I was thinking of maybe adding like a leaves are falling. And so I'm just going to go ahead as if some of our leaves are blowing in the breeze, and we'll add in some paintings down here. Let me move my T. And then we're going to do some splattering up here. And again, the other thing is you may want to add in some leaves. So I might just add in a couple of leaves right over here. A beautiful fall leaf here. Maybe I'll add another maple over here. All the leaves are just beautifully imperfect, right? As they're just all different and unique, kind of like snowflakes. Okay. And if you want it, you could really get detailed if you wanted to with the wreaths. I'm not going to with this one, but this is really, really nice. We want to come back in. I want to add a little bit of color. I want to add a bit more detail. I want to add some sparkles, not some sparkles, some splatters. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got some of the magenta. I've mixed it with a little bit of the purple, and I'm going to get it pretty wet. And I'm just going to come up here and I am going to do some splattering, just really, really on the outside. And then maybe down here too. I'm going to come back, I'm going to rinse out the brush really well, grab some orange or your gamboge, whatever the warm color you were using. And I'm going to come back now too, and then also do a little bit more splattering. I'm also going to come back and go where the lower parts of my leaves and add in another color, another layer. And you can start to see too how now that it's dried, we can creep in there without the watercolor dancing together so much. And I'm going to come through here as well. And down here, and again, adding in some color there, some depth. I'm going to go through and grab the brown. Get that nice and moist. And I'm going to add some more twigs coming out here on the sides. And going over that micron pen as well. Anywhere too you feel like there's too much white, let's add in some more color there. And it might be helpful to move in a circle so nothing gets lost. I'm going to add I'm actually going to add a bit of purple to the brown so I get a bit more depth of color without having to introduce another color. I'm going to come right down here. And again, moving in a circle, I'm going to put a bit of brown here. And then down here, as we can see the twigs maybe coming out underneath those leaves, our leaf and twig wreath. Moving out right over here, and you can see where the green had gotten mixed up quite, really mixed into the branch. We can come back now and do a dark brown over that, and that looks really nice. Okay, we're just moving our way all the way around, noticing where I might need some more color. And then I'm also seeing, okay, where did I create those extra leaves that I want to come back now and add those in? I am going to pick up a little bit of that green. Oh, I'm sorry, I put my sleeve right, I realize, in the camera. Come back out here. Let me come in a bit too so you can see right in here. For example, I'm just going to come through and add a bit of green here. And then I'm going to add some purple there too. I'm going to come over here and add a bit of green right to differentiate that leaf. That looks nice. Right over here. And then I'm going to go out a bit. I'm going to add down here this leaf, that green. I added it just on the outside. Let me add a little bit more color because I'm going to come back with the purple and that really lovely magenta, which I am just loving. And I'm going to drop that right. Let me actually scoot this in a bit so you can see this. I realize we're getting a little bit close to the edge. I've got my T on the edge, so I don't want to drop that in. Okay, here we go. We're going to drop this in right here. And then move that, and then I'm going to see how I can just drop in that purple. Isn't that fun? And then I'm going to actually move that purple. It looks like I got a little drop here, but that is just fine. The fun thing with splatters is you can use them to your advantage to just create all sorts of different shapes. If you see one like that, not a big deal. We'll just make a leaf as if the leaves are kind of just coming off. If you feel like it's a bit too much, just go ahead and take that dry brush and just brush off the extra paint, just like that. I'm going to come back now on this one and put in some extra color right over there, and that's really, really fun. Really fun. Okay, I'm going to come back out so you can see the whole thing, coming back in, coming back out. All right, I'm going to grab some of that yellow and the gamboge, the orange. I'm going to come over here to this leaf and just add a little bit in here. And I'm going to do some splatters down below. And with the words, I may come back to, as I don't want to do it where they're splattering, but I will sometimes just do a wash, a really light wash in a purple, or in this case, the gamboge, and just adding some color like that so it really shows it off. Also feels like the wind is just moving through the words as well as the paper with the flying leaves, right? So that's starting to come along really, really nicely. I'm actually going to walk around the table so my hand stops getting in the middle of it here. I'm gonna get some more of the cadmium orange, and I am gonna move right up here. A lot of times I'll look around and think, okay, do I have an evenness of color? Do I need to move a certain color anywhere? And this was a splatter, but I'm gonna turn it into a leaf because why not? Right there we go. See how we can just create some leaves around the edges here as if they're almost coming off the wreath, which I kind of love that idea, right? They're just kind of floating on and away. And we're moving that around. And this is just turning out really, really lovely. It's just a simple, really fun, very loose painting. This is not super tight. We're not worried about a lot of detail here, although I can play with the detail with the edge of my brush like I'm doing with these leaves over here. I could certainly, if I wanted to, come back and do one more layer too. I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to add just a little bit of shadowing. I'm going to add some brown and the yellow together, or even mixing that orange and the brown, mixing that together. And I think I'm gonna get a little wetter. I'm just gonna dab in some color right in here. That looks really nice. Move that yellow right in between where we don't have white so much, but it's also not too dark, right? I love this. I think this is really, really fun, very whimsical. If you want to add a pop, go back, add a bit of your magenta even to the orange. That'll give a nice, and then if you want to just dab in some of these, again, making it a little bit darker, showing off some shadowing under here. And really, we are about done. We don't want to overdo it. Again, I might come back in and I might do some, you can do some other words around it. You can add some more splatters. We can certainly do that maybe with a little bit of green, just right in here, just to create the sense of bringing all the colors together. And then finally, actually, let's do one with brown too. So we'll do a smattering of brown splatters right down here. I'm gonna do some there and above the green. And everything is, you know, we don't have too much white. The splatters actually look really, really nice. If you wanna do one more round, go for it. There we go. I'm gonna add some of that magenta and this looks beautiful. I really, really like this. We'll let this completely dry and then it will be ready to be framed. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time. I hope you've had so much fun painting this wreath. I'd love to know if you painted along what colors you used for your leaves. If you went more traditional with reds and oranges or you threw in some purples and plums, let me know and I will see you guys soon.